I'm gonna share 5 facts I believe in. Pretty sure not all of you will agree with the last one. The best communities usually form about shared beliefs, and I'd like to build a strong community. You don't have to agree with everything I say, but it's also a way you can get to know me a bit better, and I can get to know you a bit better if you share your beliefs and share your opinion. What do you think about this? My first belief is that everybody likes playing. I know there are a lot of people out there who don't play video games, who hate playing board games. Let's first of all define what I mean by playing. I could say, oh, everything is playing, walking is playing, dancing is playing, but I'm not gonna do that because that's pointless. You're playing when your actions don't matter as much as in quote-unquote real life, so you're a little bit in a bubble, in a safe zone. Whether you fail or win doesn't really impact the rest of your life. There's some sort of feedback, so you know whether you're doing well or whether you're doing not so well. There's some kind of goals. Doesn't need to be very clear goals, but as I've just said, you can tell whether you're doing well or not. Playing is something that's kind of hard to define, but just saying everything counts as playing is a bit boring, because then my statement is completely pointless. So let's not do that. Not everybody likes video games, okay? I think if you search long enough, you will 90% find a game that you will like. Even if you said, I don't like video games, there is a video game out there. I can understand though that you don't want to search the internet for 10 hours just to find the perfect video game, but if you did, you would find a game that you would enjoy. But okay, maybe you don't like video games. So let's continue with board games. There are so many board games. I'm pretty sure if you spend a bit of time researching board games, you would find a game that you would really like. Once again though, I can understand that you might not be interested in searching for the perfect board game for hours. Just understand, there are so many board games. I'm pretty damn sure there's one you would enjoy. Let's assume you really don't like board games and there's not a single board game you like. The next thing are sports. Do you play tennis? Do you play football? If you do, well, I guess you like playing. There are so many different sports that you could do. I assure you that one of them, you would enjoy at least one of them, okay? But let's assume you don't want to search for one. Let's assume sports games are not the games for you. Let's assume football is not for you. Let's assume tennis is not for you. And all the other 1000 sports that are out there are also not for you. Then we still have the very simple games you play every single day. If you don't do any of this, I'll be really impressed. Then you really don't like playing, but I doubt it. I'm pretty sure everybody is doing something like this every now and then. Trying to hit something exactly into the garbage can or just somewhere else. Do you have pets? Do you like playing with your pets? Do you like playing with your dogs, with your cats, with your fish? Do you have children? Do you like playing and interacting with your children in a playful manner? Do you take part? Do you participate in their games? Well, guess what? You're playing! One thing I need to say though is, I'm not saying everybody plays, everybody is playing. It's pretty hard not to play, but there are some people that don't play. What I'm saying is, everybody likes playing. If you find the correct play activity, the right game, you will enjoy it. So look out for those playful activities for those games, because they can make your life a lot better, a lot more enjoyable. Always be on the lookout. Don't just be that guy who's like, I don't like playing, I don't like games. Dude, if you're like that, then you haven't looked or ask somebody, okay? Sometimes people can give you really cool tips for games and playful activities. And as I've said, a lot of it depends also on how you define the word play. That's what makes this discussion a bit difficult, okay? If you see it in a little bit broader sense, then suddenly it's absolutely impossible not to play. If you define it in a closer way and say there has to be rules and P and pa and po, then suddenly not everybody enjoys playing anymore. But you know, if you take this mediocre way in between, I think everybody enjoys playing. And it also brings me right to my second belief, that is that games are good. They are something positive. They enrich people's lives. They make it more enjoyable. They provide you fun. They can teach you things. They taught me to be patient, to lose, not to freak out. I played a lot of online games like StarCraft, and that taught me to stay calm even when I'm losing. It's not that big of a deal. Learning to lose is a pretty important skill nowadays. If you don't know how to lose correctly, you'll have a hard time in life because losing is part of life. You need to know how to lose, and games are definitely something that taught me how to lose correctly. You can't win without losing first, in my theory. Games can teach you a lot. They can be a social environment to meet friends. I have a couple of friends who live hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away. Online games give me a nice environment to interact with them, to have some fun with them, talk with them, and all of that wouldn't really be possible without games, because yeah, you could just have a phone call, but that phone call would be over after 20 minutes, 10 minutes. And if you play games, you can spend time together for hours and hours, and it doesn't really get boring. So, hey, games are a good thing. Yes, they have some downsides, okay? Gambling is not a good thing. Gambling machines, casinos, those are all games, and they are not very nice. But as everything, you can abuse every good idea to do bad things. My favorite example of that is probably fire. Fire is an absolutely amazing thing. It allowed us to stay warm, cook our meals, but it could also be used to burn stuff. In the grand scheme of things, fire is a very good and positive thing. That was a really important part of the human development and a really important stepping stone. And I feel it's the same with games. In general, they're absolutely awesome, a very good thing, and it's very cool that we're trying to figure them out and trying to control them, trying to find out how to use them correctly. But of course there are people who will try to abuse that knowledge and try to burn villages and houses. So yeah, they're not all good, but in general they are. And yeah, I don't need to tell you about the old violence discussion. I mean, I still talk to people who think video games make you violent and teach you how to use guns and all that sort of stuff. You still run across these people every now and then. I hope this will fade out as time goes on. I think it started to fade out a little bit. The relation is the other way around. People who are a bit crazy in their head and have tendencies to violence tend to play more violent video games. That's the correlation, not the other way around. People don't get that. I feel like, look at me for an example. I have killed so many people in video games and I'm still quite normal. Okay, don't say anything. Don't say anything. But still, I hope you get the point. Unfortunately, I think the violence discussion will come back big time as soon as VR is ready for the mass market. Who knows when that will be, but as soon as people will play violent video games in VR, where you can actually hold something in your hand that feels like a real gun and pull the trigger, people will restart discussing the same topics. You know, I know how it feels to hold a gun in VR, and honestly I'm not sure. It might be a problem. Yes, it could maybe be used to, and it will probably be used to train people how to use guns, and the handling will be very similar than in real life. But even then, I'm pretty sure people can differentiate between reality and video games. People are already playing shooters in VR and it's going totally fine, so probably no need to worry about anything. My third belief is that everybody should have the opportunity and the chance to do something fulfilling with his life. The reason why I believe in that is, yeah, I have this amazing opportunity to do what I love, to make video games and YouTube videos, and I really wish that everybody had the same opportunity. Not to do exactly the same thing, not everybody needs to create video games. But I really wish that everybody had the freedom to experiment and to try a couple of different things without too much stress, just figuring out who you are, what you want, then doing something that is fun and that is beneficial for a lot of people and that fulfills you, something I really want. I hope that earlier or later I can participate in one way or another to that goal, to give everybody a chance to do something fulfilling. And I hope I can do that right now by inspiring you, by giving you some feedback, some tips, some experiences from my own life. I really want everybody to have a good and fulfilling life. I'll try my best to make it happen. The fourth one is an interesting one. You shouldn't blame the player, you should blame the game or the system or the rules. If a player abuses the system and the rules of your game, then it's not the fault of the player. It's the fault of the rule set because they allowed this to happen. This applies to multiple levels. Obviously, it applies to video games. So if people can cheat your video game and play it in a way that maybe spoils the experience for other players, or that's just a stupid shortcut to get to the end faster and pretty much spoiling their own fun. If the players find a way to abuse the system, it's not the fault of the players. They are just using the rules that are in place. So this is a pretty obvious example in video games, especially in online multiplayer video games, where really the rules change how people interact with each other. But the way more interesting part of it is when you apply the same concept to real life. For example, to politics. I really don't want to make any politics statements, but if people are not interested in politics or they behave in a certain way, then they are not exactly to blame, but the people who made the rule set, whoever created the rule set. What makes this a bit complicated is that every single one of us has quite a bit of impact on the rule set. We basically vote for our own rule set, but that rule set in return has such a big influence and impact on us and really matters a lot. Really hard to explain what I mean. Yeah, let's maybe not use politics as an example. It's a bit too complicated of a system, has too many weird feedback loops that go into each other. Let's take a different example. Let's say you have a family and you have a couple of children and you want to reward good behavior, so every time they clean up their room, they will get some candy or something like that. Pretty simple rule. But obviously it can be abused. They will just make the room untidy, then clean it up, make it untidy, clean it up, and obviously just a little bit untidy so they can clean it up really quickly. And then you have to give them candy all the time. That's a system that would, for example, be really easy to abuse. And who's to blame? Obviously not the ones abusing it, but you who made the rules. That's my belief. The one who makes the rules is the one who takes responsibility for the behavior of people. Definitely works 100% when you apply it to games. Works 90%, 80% when you apply it to real life, because there are a lot more factors in play that are a lot harder to overlook. So to conclude, number 4, you shouldn't blame the player, you should blame the game and the rules, especially in games. Then number 5, this is the one that most of you or some of you will not agree with. My number 5 belief is that everybody is selfish. Yes, people have different tendencies to help other people. Some like helping other people more. Some don't like helping other people. But both of them are equally selfish, because they just do what makes them feel good. Okay, one of them is just, I worry mostly about myself because that makes me feel good, and the other one is also like, oh, I like helping you because that makes me feel good. But they're still doing it because they want to feel good. Okay, they don't make it to make others feel good. They do it because they feel good when they make others feel good. And I think that is a very positive and nice thing, and something we should encourage and reward, and something we should look up to. But still, both of those people are still pretty selfish. I hope you realize that I use the word selfish in a bit of a different context than you usually use it, and usually would call that person selfish and this person selfless and nice. Helpful. But when you go one level deeper, they're still both selfish. That's what I'm trying to say. They're still both doing what makes them feel good. Even if we go so far to say that somebody gives his life or something really precious to save somebody else, it's still because if he didn't save that person, or if he didn't give that really important thing to the other person, he couldn't live with that feeling. So he's still doing it for a selfish reason. He knows that his life will be more pleasant than the other way around. If he didn't save that person, if he didn't give his life for the other person, he would feel terrible for the rest of his life. So he doesn't want that, so he just gives his life. So that's still selfish. In the deeper level, if we go one level up, that's amazing and completely crazy and selfless how somebody could do that. And something everybody would look up to for good reasons. So yeah, maybe you can agree with this. I think I explained it in a relatively good and understandable and humane way. Obviously there are differences between people, but at the core we are designed to worry about ourselves, about our own happiness. And the only way, in my opinion, to make somebody do something is to make him want to do something, even if you have to put a gun right next to his head. That's just a way to make him want to cooperate. People don't do stuff when they don't want to do it. Never. So to which of those beliefs do you agree and to which do you disagree? You know what this means? Which parts of my beliefs do you agree with and which do you disagree with? I'd like to know you a bit better. And I hope you know me a bit better as well. So that's hopefully just one brick to build a really cool and solid community. I think we're on a good path to be an awesome community. Let's continue that path. Have an amazing day. Make the world your playground. See you tomorrow.